What's going on, everybody? Purple Valkyrie, happy Saturday. How's your weekend going?
Happy Saturday. It's going well, thank you. And we are officially in October. I am so excited. So we are in
True,
spooky season, but we
true.
are ahead of the curve because we always talk woo-woo here.
It's true. And I now officially have just updated my audio avatar. So if I put myself behind the screen so I can do nefarious things, you will now see that I have a pumpkin in place of my glass of bourbon.
Oh, that is
Uh,
so cool. I love it.
but, 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 that doesn't mean the bourbon's going away. Let me shout out some people we got in chat. We have Daniel, hail to you, back from Europe. And yeah, I've been reading your comments in our chat about work, and I'm going to nod along with you. And you go, yes, people have lost their effing minds. Yes, they have. Hello to Louise X Sparrow. How are you doing? I know you met up with Louise at the Discworld Con. You guys got
I
any other
did.
cons coming up in the UK anytime soon?
There's probably going to be the regular Comic Cons, but the next Discworld Con will not be till next year, and that'll be in Ireland, which
I,
is cool.
I wonder how many genders they'll come up with by then. I don't know. Actually, I don't wonder. Hail to Dempsey. It's great to see you. He asked Louise Sparrow, "Are we having fun yet?" Well, we are now. We are now. There's a lot of crazy shit going on, isn't there? It's just
Yeah,
endless. It's
yeah,
endless.
it's endless, relentless weirdness. Yes.
And the really funny thing about all this, and I use a lot of profanity when I talk with other YouTubers. We all do. We try and keep it at PG-13 when we're live. But the thing about that is that it's hard to believe that these people were smart enough to get all these billions of dollars to then buy people who are supposedly our representatives who clearly aren't smart enough to manage a Dairy Queen. Um, and these are the people who get on the media and tell us we're wrong.
Not just wrong, but you're bad.
We're
Yes.
bad. We're bad, and we should be punished. And we don't need power, and we don't need gas, and we don't need food. But what we need to do is suffer. Because reasons. Because communism good. Jacob Ironside, I want to believe too. We're going to cover some pretty cool articles across the spectrum today. And hail again to you, Dempsey said, just finished playing Phantasm. We'll be doing Phantasm 2 later tonight. I'm pumped up for it. For the woo woo. Well, hail to
Nice.
you.
Awesome.
I've never played Phantasm the movie. That's a trippy movie. Purple, what are your
Oh,
thoughts on
yes.
Phantasm?
I
Seriously.
love Phantasm. Yeah, the tall
Yeah?
man. Angus Scrim, wasn't it? Yeah. Great character. I always wanted
Sweet.
one of the balls as a prop. Um,
Ooh,
mhm.
interesting.
Make up your own jokes, chat.
I I I think it's a little early for me to make jokes about balls. You know what I will do? You know what I will do is I will talk about something that I quite honestly added to the list of things that Salty cannot believe, and yet he believes. This is an article that comes to us from the National Pulse, and this is dated the 28th of September, so a couple days ago. British government is experimenting right now with feeding African children worms, locusts, and flies. Because why not, right? Why not? Why not?
Yes, the first question that comes to mind is why?
Yeah, the subheading on this, the National Pulse, is forcing black kids to eat bugs. How very woke. The British government, this is all real. This is all real. The British government is funding projects pushing Africans not to farm livestock, chickens, pigs, you know, but to farm and consume insects, in particular, feeding them to children in Africa in randomized trials to assess their effectiveness. Effectiveness at what, Purple Valkyrie? What do you think that is?
The least nefarious would be how nutritious they are. the most nefarious I don't even want to talk about on this channel.
Well, again, look up Chitin. That is Chitin. Chitin. Toxicity tells you everything you need to know. So the United Kingdom Research and Innovation, a clever little acronym called UKRI, is a subsidy of the UK's Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, is responsible for backing these projects, forcing children, it's always the children, to eat bugs in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Zimbabwe. Only poor.
Imagine that.
Only poor African children aged 7 to 11 in towns of Gowana and Harare will be fed the concoction derived from caterpillars, while researchers allege caterpillars are high in vitamins and minerals. Why don't those researchers just eat those bugs?
Yeah, I can think of many more things that are high in vitamins and, the things that growing kids would need.
Yeah. Ultimately, this is supposed to be a randomized trial that will be carried out to compare if children between the ages of 7 and 11 in Africa, again, in Africa, consume insects perform better in school than children who eat traditional African dishes that don't include bugs. Gee, I wonder what the results are going to be. It's curious, isn't it? The crazy thing about this, we'll skip through some of the things. They're also pushing to have children eat not just caterpillars, but migratory locusts and black soldier flies. This project began in March, surprise, and will end in December of this year. And it is in response to an apparent water shortage due to the alleged stress placed on the environment.
Hey.
From too many people in animal farm.
Uh-huh. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Salty, but Africa is a vast continent in many countries, plenty of places that have viable farmland.
Yes, it is. It's not a really good place to use GMO seeds, which if you take money from a certain economic fund that is world, you have to. Those are the stipulations of if you're a poor country when you take these loans, much like a mythical country that's next to Russia, which has been getting billions of dollars from us. They got one of those loans in the conditions where they had to give virtually everything up. And we see how well that's going, but that's a whole other road. Let's finish out this article. So, it's unclear whether or not the conclusions from the work of feeding poor black children between the ages of 7 and 11 in Africa bugs will be applied in the United Kingdom, though experts in the field interviewed by mainstream British media outlets claim it is likely to happen. For example, the founder of Bug Farm in Pembrokeshire in the UK and an academic entomologist claimed these projects were, quote, a sure way to save lives and improve nutrition of the poorest people on the planet. Quote, we are also actively encouraging people in the developed world to include insects in their diets, quote, with a population that has an appetite set to far exceed the planetary limits, and with current agriculture decimating biodiversity and changing the climate, we have no option but to change how we produce and consume food.
No to all of that.
Shit. Corporate farming, decentralized, don't use GMO. The solutions, it's called the Halgian Dialectic. Look it up, Heglian, the Halgian Dialectic. You create a problem that you already have a solution you're going to profit from. Problem, cause a reaction, solution, profit. This was one of Obama's major accomplishments during 8 years was extracting so much wealth from the United States. Does no one remember that? But all of the same things that we went through for 8 years under good old Barry, like food, gas prices, war. It's almost like he's in his third term. I mean, I would never say that because we have literally the most popular president ever in American history.
I was going to ask, are you having a little bit of deja vu there? Yes.
As Purple, I was like, I don't know if I can talk about this. I'd much rather just like not talk about what's really going on in the world. The thing about this is I'm trying to make fun of it because if I don't, I'm going to get really effing mad. And I'm tired of being really effing mad about every goddamn thing. I really am. They are after us. They're not as smart as we are, and there's nowhere near as many as they claim that are on their side. Could we just say that? All right, let's talk about something that's not going to get me landed in the gulag.
Can I just shout out a couple of people because we've got some more people who have joined.
Yes.
So let me say hey to Zach. I hope you had a safe travel. He's in Portugal at the moment. Hope you're having a fantastic time.
Send me nudes from the beach. I mean, pictures of the ruins and pictures of food. Show me and picture of the wine. Congratulations.
And food. Yes.
Yes. Nude food and topless ruins. Yes.
Yes, topless wine. Yes, that's it. And Stig Kenobi, great to see you. Good evening. Hope you are doing well. And I think we've got Jacob Ironside as well. And we have got from Daniel. Let me pull that up.
Oh, cheers. Hail, Daniel. It's great to see you. This is a $4.99 super chat. He says, Freddy Krueger versus these... Wait, let me get both. Researchers. I vote for Freddy. Yes, the question is, what's the difference between Joseph Mengele and these people? Of course, we could ask that about a certain Anthony somebody, of Italian descent, diminutive gentleman. The problem is that whatever they're saying is not being believed. We don't believe it anymore. And they're pooping the bed. And you saw the politician that got elected in Italy. A strong, independent woman.
Yes.
Speaking her mind. Speaking her truth. Look what they're doing.
And Sweden also. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yes, they're all panicking now because apparently all these countries are going over to the right.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem is they saw how populism was working. People don't want this globalist shit. They don't want the ID. They don't want to eat the bugs. They don't want to live in the pods. As a matter of fact, they'd rather own something and like that and be happy than own nothing and be human 2.0. You can't even make jokes about this stuff anymore. It's just, it's getting to the point where I can't talk about that. This is from the Smithsonian Magazine, and this was an article, Purple, I found incredibly fascinating. We have talked about the Titanic previously.
Yes, we did. We had a fantastic discussion, and we kind of talked about the history and talking about the how it's been raised or the attempts over the years that, what have we got here? What do the Smithsonian say?
So we did look at 4K pictures, and we did look at some new researchers that went down there to observe how the ship, after over 100 years, is starting to show signs of degradation, despite the cold salt water. Well, a story that's not normally included in that sinking back in 1908, 19 something or other. Anyway, it was a long time ago. Was that a ship by the designation of the SS Masaba actually tried to warn the Titanic that it was sailing toward the iceberg that sunk it. Now, not a lot of people know that. This is an actual picture of the SS Masaba.
Nice.
So on April 15th, 1912, the crew aboard the SS Masaba desperately tried to warn the RMS Titanic about several dangerous icebergs floating in their path on the ocean. The Titanic received the precautionary messages, but those messages were never given to the captain. The rest is history. Later that night, the supposedly unsinkable Titanic struck an iceberg, as the story goes, and sank, becoming one of the most well-known shipwrecks of all time. Meanwhile, the Masaba continued in service as a British merchant steamship for the next 6 years until a German U-boat blasted it with a torpedo toward the end of World War I in 1918, killing 18 people on board. Now, scientists have had hunches where this damn thing could be, but they didn't know exactly where the Masaba sank until now. Researchers at Bournemouth University and Bangor University in the UK say they finally discovered the wreck at the bottom of the Irish Sea, and this was just announced last week. Now, they're showing this. This is the multi-beam side scan sonar representation, depiction in high resolution of what has been confirmed to be the SS Masaba,
That's
lying at the
fascinating.
bottom of the Irish Sea, guys. Is this stuff crazy or what?
That is
This is
amazing,
history.
and it's worth noting as well. It almost looks like the Titanic, because the Titanic split down the middle as well when it sank. This is incredible.
Yeah, obviously with this, it was about amidships, probably where their torpedoes struck, because one thing Germans are good at is accuracy, and that can be regrettable when you're at war with them. We all know that one. But it's wild. Look at this ship. It's been lying at the bottom of the sea since 1918. To locate the vessel's remnants, scientists turned to this form of sonar called multi-beam sonar, a technology that can map the seafloor using sound waves. I actually believe this is something the United States military has had for at least 20 or 30 years, but that is a theory. So they used a research vessel and this multi-beam sonar to identify and scan 237 other shipwrecks, including cargo ships, submarines, ocean liners, tankers, trawlers, and other vessels that are spread across 7,500 miles of the Irish Sea. They then cross-referenced all these different wrecks with known information from a database of wrecks. It's fascinating. A lot of these wrecks are in deep water. A maritime geoscientist said at Bangor University, obviously there's no light down there, so you can't see much at all. The multi-beam sonar, on the other hand, is a way of really effectively visualizing using sound to see something that cannot be seen with the naked eye, much like an ultrasound during pregnancy. So there again, that's a Titanic. We've seen that thing many, many times. But yeah, imagine if the Masaba's message sent on April 15th, 1912 would have actually made it to the captain of the RMS Titanic. Purple, you have often talked about the very important people, several very important people involved in the banking and finance affairs around the world. Why don't you speak to that a little bit, and then I'll do the thing that I do where I talk about how taxation is unconstitutional.
Yes, well, this comes down to, I think we talked about it in the past, one of the, in quotations, conspiracy theories about the sinking of the Titanic was that it was actually done on purpose, because several of the people who were against the Federal Reserve being brought in were on that ship and went down with said ship. But
Yeah.
we've also talked about it, and this whole thing, it's like it's a catalogue of things that went wrong. Any one of them could have probably stopped the Titanic from sinking, but to hear about this ship that sent a message saying, "Watch out, icebergs are in the area," and it didn't get through.
I mean, you have one job when you're the radio man, and yes, I use gender language because that's what they're called. You're the radio man. You man the radio. It's pretty much it, right? And then it was Morse code, so you decode the message. You then hand that off probably to one of the mates or communications officer. That message is then relayed to the captain, because the captain is in charge. You've seen Star Trek, right?
Yes.
Come on, James D Kerr, right? What's fascinating about this, and I will talk about this yet again because it bears repeating, 1914, December 25th, if memory serves, the United States Senate had a bare bones amount of representation for a voice vote to pass what was at the time temporary legislation to fund what was then called the Great War and American involvement in Europe. To that moment, there had never been a federal income tax from the federal government imposed on American citizens. Why? Because according to the United States Constitution, it was against the law, and the Constitution was written to have federal taxation. So an emergency act was passed that Christmas Eve, and I believe it was 1914, where a temporary income tax, limited only by the emergency powers within the decree for only as long as the Great War or World War I lasted. It went from 1914 until 1918. That only the most wealthiest of the Americans, the top 3 earners, would be taxed at a very low rate. And that was to end once the emergency power, which was only granted for the duration of World War I, would be ceased and stop. We are now here over 100 years later. And every time a new president is sworn in, you hear a series of things, emergency acts that are kept in place. Every single president since that act was passed. And they list off these numbers of these acts. The act from World War I, which enabled federal income tax to pay only for the involvement in World War I, is still active. That's why you have to pay your taxes. Remember who the enemy is. The Federal Reserve is fascinating. I'm going to talk about them real quick, or I'm going to get really effing pissed off. And you guys, this is another one of those situations where I quite simply, I don't have words, because you can no longer tell between 80s dystopian fiction and bear with me. Yeah, maybe they'll throw me. They'll throw me in the gulag for this. Take a look at this, kids. That same Federal Reserve, which is not a government bank, guys, it's a consortium of European banks, which were the ones behind the act to put that temporary federal tax that was there only to pay for World War I on the American government. There have been presidents that wanted to kick that to the curb, including someone you may have heard of by the name of John F. Kennedy. He wanted to put us on the silver standard. Look up. What is it? I think it's red ink dollars, where you can look. When I was a kid, there were a lot more of them, but actually on the currency it said backed by silver. Why? Because the Federal Reserve has put us where we are today. Let's talk about this just a little bit more, and I'm in a different browser for this one. The Federal Reserve, the same Federal Reserve, announces a pilot exercise for individual ESG score credit systems. This is from yesterday or 2 days ago. This is from the dossier. It's not a wackadoodle thing. The Federal Reserve has taken a major step in the direction of facilitating an ESG-compliant monetary digital network that effectively acts as a parallel system to that of the Chinese Communist Party's infamous social credit score system. The Federal Reserve said this on a statement just on Thursday, quote, 6 of the nation's largest banks will participate in a pilot climate scenario analysis exercise designed to enhance the ability of supervisors and firms to measure and manage climate-related financial risks. Scenario analysis in which the resilience of financial institutions is assessed under different hypothetical climate scenarios. In other words, the Federal Reserve is working with the largest banks, and you know who they are. A lot of them do money laundering all the time. The Federal Reserve is working with those banks to monitor their ability to comply with the ruling class's preferred enviro-statist technocrat tyranny. These are unelected, unaccountable people who are telling us to eat the bugs and now telling us that they really like what China was doing, controlling everybody and everything. Let's do it here. And we got nothing to say about it. I have got to stop talking about this or I am going to scream profanity. Let's talk about some goddamn UFOs or something like that. Purple, what do you got? You guys, seriously, I encourage you to look these things up. Again, this is not Bob's crazy shit website. These are statements. This isn't a joke. You know why your entertainment sucks? I mean, you know why movies have sucked? They're getting you used to this hell. And it's the usual people that are behind it. Purple, let's talk about this one a bit.
Yes, we're going to just pivot into something just quickly, but we've had some fantastic comments in the chat, so just want to give shout out to a couple of people and say hey to our favorite vampire, Nosferatu. Great to see you as always. And Steve, he's at work at the moment, but great to see you as well. Hope you guys are doing okay today. But thank you guys. Yeah, I know Salty knows, and you guys know exactly what we're talking about. This isn't something that we are making up, and we just have to talk about it, else our heads explode.
I'm going to lose this channel. You're going to lose this channel. None of us are going to be compliant with this shit. I'm not. I don't care. I really don't. No. And in Texas, legislation has been passed. And it has been found constitutional based upon the Constitution of the great state of Texas that social media companies cannot censor what I say. Now, are they going to do it anyway? Yeah. But I am not going quiet into this. I'm not. It doesn't make me a hero. It just means I'm a pain in the ass. And I'm okay with that. I really am. Because I'm not going to eat the bugs. And I'm not going to change my gender. And I'm not going to get an injection. And I'm not going to participate in this bullshit. And you're not going to take away my 2A. You're not going to take away my precious metals. You're not going to take away my effing house. Okay? This is Texas. This isn't Washington State. This isn't Oregon. This isn't Illinois. Purple, let's talk about UFOs.
Yes, I'm going to pivot into something a little bit spookier since we've just gotten into October. So I've talked about this, and I don't think I've talked about this in public yet, but one of the things I'll be doing throughout the month is I'll be focusing on some little ghost stories maybe from around the UK. So I thought I would share a couple, just give you a taste of things to come, if that's okay, Salty.
We've only just begun to live. Where's Dr. Rachel Lindbergh? I need to go. Whoa, here she goes. Oh, you know what I haven't done? It's Wild, Weird, Wonderful Werewolf Weekend. Woo, Purple Valkyrie. Let's talk about it.
Yes, indeed. So, you guys know how haunted the UK is. You can't walk down the street or go to a pub that doesn't have an alleged ghost or apparition attached to it. But
you also have the ghost of what used to be called a border. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, that's dead and buried. That's long gone. But I thought today I would focus on what is supposedly the most haunted building in England, the Tower of London. Daniel could probably back me up in this because I know he was in London just recently. I hope you got to visit. But it says the grim, grey and awe-inspiring, the Tower of London has dominated the London landscape and pages of history since its construction by William the Conqueror in 1078. It is perhaps the most haunted building in England, and I believe this. I've been a few times, and it is eerie, even in bright sunshine during the day.
What makes it eerie, Purple Valkyrie? I mean, I've seen this in Sherlock Holmes movies from like the 40s, and of course, probably some Hammer horror knockups where they do the external shot and then pretend they're in there, and there's like the rack and Bloody Mary and all that stuff. What is it about this building that makes it so creepy?
I think it's because it's so ominous looking. It was designed to be that way. It is designed to be a prison, and it's gone through many kind of variations over the years. It's been a zoo. It's been a house for the royal family. It's been a museum, which it is now. But throughout, it's just this very grim looking building, and it really it stands out from a lot of the other architecture, even when it was built. And as I say, it's gone through many iterations. It used to have a moat, and it used to have a zoo with lions and tigers and elephants. That were very, very badly kept. They used to feed them nothing but peanuts.
Jesus, my God!
They didn't know how to take care of these animals. They didn't last very long, unfortunately.
Wow.
But this place is incredibly haunted. Allegedly, I will say. So them I will talk about now. So the massive White Tower, which is the oldest and most forbidding of all the Tower of London's buildings, and its winding stone corridors are the eerie haunts of a white lady. Now, there are a lot of, in quotations, white ladies, grey ladies throughout the UK. It's a very popular ghost to be seen, but she is supposedly a widow who once stood waving at a group of children, and she is seen quite regularly. She's seen at the top of stairs, she's seen in the windows, and as it says here, you can also smell her perfume if you go through the chapel, allegedly.
Wow. You sure that's not Meghan Markle wearing a knockoff fragrance she got from the dollar store because nobody wants a... I'll stop talking. She's a national
Prada.
treasure to you English, isn't she? Diversity is your strength, Purple Valkyrie. And you can have her. You can have her, and we'll even throw in Alyssa Milano for free, and Seth Rogen, and hell, you can have all of our late night hosts. And all I want is the fish and chips you told me about you had for dinner.
Oh yes, it was good.
It was so good. True story.
But obviously, let's see what else we've got. We have got Amber Lynn and Lady Jane Grey, obviously ex-wives of Henry VIII, are said to both haunt the vicinity. We also have the ghost of Margaret Pole, who was the Countess of Salisbury, returns here. In truly dramatic and alarming fashion, it says. So it says at the age of 72, she became an unwitting and undeserving target of Henry VIII's petty vengeance. He was like that. Her son, Cardinal Pole, had vilified the king's claim as head of the Church of England. And if you know anything about Henry VIII, you know that he did not like having his claim or anything else challenged. So what did he do?
I'm Henry VIII. I am Henry VIII. I am. I know that his wives, a lot of them didn't stick around very long. I'm just gonna say that. They didn't stick around.
Kind of got through them. Definitely a ladies' man. Absolutely.
Hail Snowdub. It's great to see you. Cool show last night with Purple Valkyrie. I was there, Gandalf, 24 hours ago. Daniel says he did see the two towers of Birmingham, though. So nice. Cheers to that. Cheers to
Daniel,
that.
You should have said. Would have met up.
Purple would have walked out in her bunny slippers with her coffee and her hair in curlers and went, "Oi! Get out of here, Yank!" Yeah. Check out the catacombs under Paris. Yes, we will talk about those, Steve. Yes. Those are no joke. Yeah, I want to say things about injections and experimental vaccines, but I'm just going to let Purple finish the story about the tower.
So as we said, Henry VIII did not like having any of his claims challenged. So when he was safely ensconced in France, the son, that is, Henry had his mother brought to the block on the 27th of May, 1541, when he told the executioner to kneel. When told by the executioner to kneel, the old lady refused. She said, "So should traitors do, and I am none." So she had some stones. The executioner then raised his axe, took a swing at her, and then chased the screaming countess around the scaffold, where he literally hacked her to death because she refused to kneel to have her head cut off.
Wow. That
As you
sounds like
can,
what's going to happen to a lot of us who don't want to get chipped and get all the boosters. Just, nope.
yeah,
Whoop.
yep,
Yep.
don't, yep,
Go
yep,
ahead.
yep.
Go ahead, Purple.
Don't eat the bugs. Don't live in a pod. Exactly. So apparently, this spectacle has been repeated several times throughout history on the anniversary of her death, and you can hear her screams echoing across the courtyard where she was dispatched.
She sounds like an awesome lady. That's the lady I want in a foxhole with me. The one who's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
2 birds. I got 2 birds for you, Mr. Headsman. You know, you're gonna chop me up. Go. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that scene in Apocalypse Now, where Colonel Kurtz knows that Captain Willard is coming for him, and Captain Willard rises out of the swampy mist, and they're playing "This Is the End," by the Doors. And then they do that horrible thing with the cow where they hack it to death. But then you got Colonel Willard like just taking big chunks out of big old malaria-ridden Colonel Kurtz. I don't know how we got on this. Purple, I'll let you
I
finish
want to
your
watch
story.
that.
Go ahead.
I really want to watch
I know.
that film now.
This is the end.
That's a great suggestion. I will talk about just one more, and it's probably one that you guys already know and are familiar with, but it is obviously the 2 boys in the tower. But now they were princes, they had claim to the throne, but good old Richard III decided to jump that claim and had them locked up, and they sadly died. 2 skeletons were uncovered beneath the stairway of the White Tower in 1674. They were presumed to be the remains of the 2 princes and afforded royal burial in Westminster Abbey.
Wow.
Since then, we have the whimpering wraiths of the 2 children, both dressed in nightgowns, clutching each other in terror. They're apparently frequently seen in the dimly lit rooms, and
Yeah,
people still hear their cries to this day.
that's horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
When people victimize children, whether it's back when this occurred, what was this, the 14 or 1500s, Purple Valkyrie?
Yes.
Or right now, at certain affirming clinics, I think a kind of horrific resonance is created, a kind of rent in what it is that is our human psyche. And certainly those children and their ghost will haunt and are undoubtedly haunting that location.
Yes, indeed.
Uh,
But there is a silver lining to this, because Richard III kind of got his comeuppance and ended up getting buried and refound many centuries later underneath a car park to a supermarket, which I think is just desserts.
You guys, like, every time you turn around, you're finding like Neolithic structures or Viking longships or like buried kings over there. I mean, it
Oh,
seems
yes.
kind of cool,
Yes. Yes,
Daniel
indeed.
says, is that scene in a movie or a show? And I believe it's referring to the headsman chasing around the queen who wouldn't kneel.
I would have to research it for you. I'm sure that somebody somewhere has filmed that at some point. But yeah, I can imagine something like a Black Mirror sort of show or something that would do that.
Yeah. Nosferatu says, if Apocalypse Now disturbed you, Salty, Cannibal Holocaust is next level in on-set animal abuse. Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, I remember the first time I saw that scene, and I was like, my God, this is so lifelike. And it was, because they really did do that to that ox. And the result, that movie came out in 79, if I remember correctly, was that movies couldn't do that anymore. So I know like 20 something years have gone by and everybody's just kind of cool with everything now, but there was a time where you couldn't really do that. But yeah, I mean, Cannibal Holocaust, it's on my list. It is. But not at the top.
Yeah.
Not at the top.
I can't say it's a good film, but it's definitely an important film for what they did. And if I remember correctly, it was so disturbing that the director almost got charged with murder for his cast. They had to prove that the cast was still actually alive.
You know what was creepy is back in the 80s, and this was elementary school, all the kids were whispering about Faces of Death. Like this, somebody's dad had a VHS copy of Faces of Death. And it was all these news scenes of deaths that somebody, a very twisted individual, had put all of these things of actual people deleting themselves or being deleted on a videotape, you know? And while, you know, we have YouTube and we have all these other places where you can go and watch horrifying things 24 hours a day, back in the 80s, this was this was the stuff of nightmares. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I just, does anybody in chat remember those Faces of Death? A lot of it happened in Asia. You know, glad to see things have turned around when it comes to human rights.
Yes. Thank
You
God
know,
they
and
learned their
dignity.
lesson. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm insensitive. I don't care. This is from Setlick 3 Gaming. I was a caretaker for a haunted museum. Whoa, for 16 years. I could tell you some very strange personal stories. I was interviewed by the Ghost Hunters.
Wow.
Setlick 3 Gaming, if you're on Twitter, reach out to Purple Valkyrie. Or let's just say we're reach out to Purple Valkyrie. We're talking about interviewing people who love watching this show. And the purpose is to get your own firsthand experiences with the paranormal. Much like I did when I interviewed people in the Fire of Fandom series for Tolkien, we would like to start doing those same things, is be able to get your actual firsthand accounts so we can let your story be known. And we'll do all the hard work and put music behind it and find cool pictures and other stuff like that. But I think that it would be cool to see and very interesting to see what you all have been through. I have my experiences, Purple has hers,
Hmm.
but we have so many wonderfully demented and cool and smart and fun people in chat. It would be awesome. And it would be an honor to amplify those stories. What do you think, Purple Valkyrie?
Yes, please. Yes, guys, if you have anything, and it doesn't have to be anything, ghost related, if you have any aliens or cryptids or anything supernatural or woo-woo related, we would absolutely love to hear from you.
Sagrian, I have an email address on, and I think Purple does too, on
Yes.
her YouTube pages. Just send it to Purple's email. Don't. My email box is loaded, so I'm going to dump all this on Purple, and
Yes.
then we'll split the work. I have too many forms of communication coming at me, and when that happens, I tend to open none of them and then just play Dungeons and Dragons. So don't do that to your man, Salty. But we want to hear. We want to hear from you guys, and let me go back through here. Nosferatu the Vampire says Faces of Death was fake. Now Traces of Death was actual deaths and murder. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Faces of Death was enough, dude. Like, you know, seriously. I mean, I've seen death up close and personal, you know, and this isn't like talking on my ass. Just to say that.
Well,
In a lot of different forms and traumatic ones. But, you know, like, I don't know about like, just Faces of Death was nuts. Like, just like splat from 30 stories and train tracks. And I mean, use your imagination, guy. I mean, it's like, Setlick 3 Gaming says one ghost that he believes saved his life. Yes, by all means, please
yes.
reach out to Purple Valkyrie. We want to see this. And Sagrian, if I'm saying the name wrong, remember, kind of a moron. So if that's not right, yell at me in chat, please. Don't take it personally. The Many Faces of Death, it was a cult thing. It's true. I'm sure stuff like this you could just find out there now, but this was a big deal back in the 80s. So was liberty. So was not liking communism. There were a lot of good things in the 80s. Just going to say that.
I've never actually heard of this, so I'm going to have to check this out now. But what we had when we were growing up, because the internet had just kind of, coming into its heyday, we had rotten.com, if anyone remembers that site.
I don't remember that.
That was the go-to site for nastiness, if you
Really?
if you were so inclined, yes.
My go-to site for nastiness was People of Walmart. Do you guys remember that?
Yes, I remember.
Holy shit. I mean, literally. I mean, this is like the late 90s. I remember I just bought a DVD player. It was like, I was like, holy cow, what am I going to do with all my VHS tapes? You know, because I had like the 27-inch tube amp, this big CRT. It was huge, 27 inches square, huge TV, and I hooked up the DVD player, which cost $220.
Whoa.
It was made in America back then, made in America, believe it or not.
But you needed both hands to lift it as well. I bet it was a real tank.
The thing is no matter how many times I moved and how many times I spilled things on that damn DVD player, it worked. Unlike the DVD player I can get for $25 off Amazon, which is broke when it's delivered because it can't handle being shipped by somebody. We'll just say that. So, oh God, I can't. I have brain fart now. Say it for me.
Sarah Green.
Sarah Green. I have a paranormal incident involving an ancestor. I have one of those too. We should talk about that. Psychodwarf 9, howdy y'all, just got here. Well, my friend, you missed me saying things that'll probably get me canceled and end up in the same place as the January 6th people. But, I'm ahead of the curve. I'm going to get one of the better cells. I wish I was kidding. Doesn't matter anyway. It's probably going to be mushroom clouds anyway. Hello to Adega Outlaw. Fantastic to see you, sir. I do want to speak to you. I am woefully behind on communications, but Purple, remind me, I need to reach out to Adega. I need some advice, and you know what that's about. So great to see you. Setlick3 Gaming says, I'm not on Twitter, but I have one story per a year. Each ghost seemed to take a turn between September and December. My YouTube page it is Salty Salish C at Gmail. Purple Valkyrie has her email address. Just go to Purple Valkyrie's YouTube page, look at the about. Please message Purple Valkyrie because I cannot be trusted with these things. I really can't. Oh, Purple Valkyrie. Look at all the amazing people. It's wonderful to see you guys. It really is. I needed to talk about woo-woo. I needed to talk about what I consider to be real news as opposed to the things that keep showing up on the screen with people talking, saying things that we all know are lies, yes. Whether that be the Rings of Power or cable news. Just going to say that. And fascinating. It's just a nutty world. I reached my breaking point this week. I really did. And over it.
Yes, I think a lot of people are in that boat, though. They're just done with absolutely everything at this point. 2022 has not been the year that we expected, and we're only in October.
Well, I made this, and I don't know what you guys in chat think about this, but I said this before. I think a lot of these streaming studios and film studios, they're all trying to hit these ESG scores, the same ones I just talked about with the Federal Reserve. But it's a conspiracy, and we're just seeing woke ghosts. It's not real, guys. We're just afraid of strong, independent women and all this other bullshit. But my point with all this was these studios don't seem to understand that when we consume our entertainment, it is not just their entertainment that impacts us in our tolerance for their agenda. We have been putting up with this for 6 years now. Is that fair? 6, 7 years?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
5, 6 years consistently. And we have now reached a point where I don't know how it happened. And maybe it's just the way I see the world. But something broke for people, I think, at the end of the Rings of Power episode 4. And then I think something else broke at the end of House of the Dragon episode 5. It did for me. Anyway, because I was covering both of these shows live. I was staying up late. I wanted to react to them. I wanted to, if nothing else, clown on them because, I get to hang out with my friends, with Steve and Purple and Nathan and Zach sometimes and Nerdporial. And I reached a point where this isn't entertainment anymore. I don't know what it is. But its objective seems to be talking about race and sexuality and woke talking points, and to get me talking about how it's all race and sexuality and woke talking points. So in other words, I then become used by these dog shit shows that don't even try and pretend to be stories to do things that I say I don't want. And I don't know, that kind of broke my brain a little bit. And I'm certainly not harshing on anybody who's covering these episodes. It's not what it is. But I'm kind of rethinking, if a show has no artistic value, and I know I realize that's subjective, I'm not just going to make another video like everybody else talking about it. I'm just not. Like, I'm not going to tell you what you probably knew if you watched 1 minute of She-Hulk, that every other episode since the first one sucked. I don't know how people feel about Andor, but I'm out on Disney Star Wars. Star Wars ended with um, Darth Vader, in the Revenge of the Sith. That was it. Wasn't the ending I wanted. I wanted it all to end at the end of Return of the Jedi, because that was the perfect ending. Purple, what do you think about this stuff?
I think you're right, and then a lot of people are getting to that point as well. We've talked about it. I think we talked about it on Tuesday about how important time is, and it's time that you cannot get back. And all we ever wanted, and all we ever want still, is good entertainment. Now, if we can't find that with current entertainment, we just go back
Yeah.
and find it in the past, and that's what
Yeah.
a lot of people seem to be doing. We've got a lot of people talking. Obviously, it's October, talking about great horror films, but. There's so much great stuff out there, and I'm
Yeah.
seeing people playing retro games, which is fantastic as well. And people are getting back
Yep.
into D&D.
Yes, including me. I got this today.
Nice. Oh, look at that. That is gorgeous.
I got it's a beautiful. I'm going to read it tonight. Of course, that's Eric July's project. I also got 2 t-shirts. I have not listened to anyone else's reviews because I want to crack open that graphic novel and form my own opinions. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to confer with people who love comic books like Maxfield Von Priestley, Nerdporial. I'm going to talk with it about other people, and I want to know what you guys think in chat. If you read it, do you like it? I talk about this with Purple all the time. And a lot of people have been saying it for a couple of years, is we have got to develop a parallel economy making our own things. Something broke in me where I can't just watch these shitty shows and make videos about them. I just can't. I don't want to. I will look at a season, but the problem is that we all know what we're getting. We know what this is going to be. We do. With rare exceptions. To me, Stranger Things season 4 was one of those exceptions. Up until episode 5 of The House of the Dragon, I thought it was on a trajectory that maybe it'd be pretty good. Not great, pretty good. From 7 out of 10. Decent. Room for improvement, but not chock full of dog shit like everything else, right? And then I watched episode 5 and I had a meltdown. And Purple did too. It's a true story.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Believed that we were going to have one show that we could enjoy. And I don't know. I'm not entirely out on House of the Dragon, but outlook is not good. So, yeah, let's talk about some more woo-woo. Purple Valkyrie, where we're going with all this is that I'm working on some stuff that I'm excited about. It has nothing to do with streaming, movies, current pop culture. I'm going to review things that are important to me. I'm going to make videos that are important. I'm going to cover things that I think are important. But I'm going to put a lot more energy into some projects that I'm working on to create something that people would enjoy. And there are a series of videos that we have been working on already over the last month, which are going to start being dropped this week. That include Purple Valkyrie, Zax, Amanda Manethrin, who am I forgetting? Me.
I think Wakazashi's Tea House.
Oh, Wakazashi's Tea House, involving Halloween, horror movies, ghost stories, famous stories, reading things that are in the public domain. And I've actually gone through and done some advanced digital restoration of movies that are in the public domain, but were in horrible shape, that I can't wait to share with you. So if you're wondering why I haven't made a video every day talking about how everything sucks, it's where I've been. and it's been really fulfilling. I hope I get some views on it, but I did because I wanted to make something, and maybe I'll have some relative die and leave me like $25 so I can shoot like a bad movie, because I guarantee you, and something I'm learning very quickly, is our bad movies and our bad stories are going to have so much more height in humanity than $1 billion Amazon show. It's crazy, right? It's crazy.
It is. It is. You wouldn't think that we would have gotten to this point as a society, but I love what we've created, guys. When you see it, I know you're going to love it as well. I am so incredibly proud of what's to come, and
We'll
there's
see.
even some surprises as well that we haven't even told you about yet.
Yeah, yeah. High production value and heart. What am I missing here? What am I missing here? Purple, am I missing all these super chats? Good Lord.
Yes, everybody's
Okay.
been
Yep.
incredibly
Yep.
generous.
Read
Thank you,
them. Read
guys.
them next time so I don't get behind. Thank you for starring them. So, super chat from Daniel for $5 says, "I'm happy to give you a little interview, some time of my personal ghost encounter from St. Augustine, Florida, the oldest North American settlement." That is a true story. That I would love to hear that, Daniel. I really would. That sounds fantastic. Yeah, Florida, God bless the people of Florida. That was one hell of a hurricane. Um, I'm not making it about me, but these things happen. They happen pretty regularly. It has nothing to do with man made anything. It's terrible that this happened. We should be focusing on restoring those people's lives, getting them, making sure they're in environments where they're not going to be surrounded by situations that cause cholera, dysentery, other things like that. Don't mess with Mother Nature. And that includes geo weather manipulation. It's a $5 super chat from Psychodorf9 says, "Thought is energy. Energy affects reality. Therefore, collective positive visualization must influence reality, even the smallest integer." Outstanding, sir.
Well said.
Garbage in, garbage out. That's why a lot of these shows, the toxicity of watching shows which are meant to dehumanize the human experience, because that's what it is when there is no hero's journey. It's meant to dehumanize or provide a transhuman story versus a human being story. But it must just be an accident. It must just be an accident that the foundations of human entertainment in a 3-act play with a hero's journey found throughout the world are entirely absent from our entertainment. Can't have anything to do with a transhuman agenda. Right, Purple Valkyrie? That's just crazy talk.
That's what we do here on Power. Yes, we talk woo woo. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
It's
Wink,
called
wink.
phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's wild, weird, weekend, woo woo, werewolf, something with purple and salty. Let's take a look at this article. So we talked a bit about this on your show on Wednesday on Wild, Weird, Wonderful, Werewolf Wednesday, woo woo. And this has to do with that asteroid impact from the DART program. Now, for those who don't know this, there was a program done by NASA, and the acronym was DART. And I will find it somewhere. Where the hell is it? Yes, it is the Double Asteroid Redirection Test. So this is a camera that was rocketed toward an asteroid, I believe the height of the Empire State Building in 500 feet wide. This asteroid is so big, it has its own freaking moon. True story. What you're looking at here is a picture of the impact of the probe that they sent to impact that huge ass asteroid. It was moving at 18,000 miles per hour when it came in contact with this asteroid. And this image was captured by Earthbound um, telescopes. Did you see stuff, Purple Valkyrie? Can you believe this stuff?
This is incredible, and yeah, we went into detail on this on Wednesday, and
Yep.
I'm still blown away that this was just kind of a blasé sort of thing, with no big deal. We've just shot a camera at a meteor to nudge it out of the way for a possible hit. But yeah, it is incredible, and we watched the footage from it, but we're still not quite sure in which direction they nudged this thing into.
Yeah, they got really excited about this. That's where this article came from. They couldn't believe the size of the impact and the resulting kinetic energy that was released, including the debris from the impacting this asteroid. So these images come from the NASA's James Webb Space Telescope and show the aftermath of NASA's DART, the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, that intentionally slammed into the moonlit asteroid Dimorphos. Watch this real quick. Look at that. That's a hell of an impact. What did they throw? They just said this was a box, I believe the size of a bread box with a camera on it. So those images show matter spraying out over thousands of kilometers. I guess when things move at 18,000 miles per hour, this is what happens. Let's look at some more images real quick. This is the impact. Seriously.
That is incredible.
That's a hell of a thing. Again, we talked about this. What is the reason that they blew all this money? So apparently NASA said this collision greatly exceeded what, this was a toaster-sized satellite.
That was one hell of a toaster.
Moving at 18,000 miles per hour. So this gives you, this is the Hubble telescope, and then this is the Webb telescope, and it gives you, and what they're doing is they're showing you how much of an advancement over Hubble the Webb really is. Look at the resolution and the detail and the magnification. I remember when I was a kid, they were still trying to put Hubble up, and then they got the damn thing up and one of the mirrors was busted. And this James Webb thing, it's been up there and it's already been perforated by micro asteroid impacts. So we're going to find out more about this. The long and the short of this, Purple Valkyrie, is that they were so excited by this big boom and smashing these things. They said they're expecting now that they will have deflected the asteroid to a much greater degree than they planned. It, quote, have huge implications in planetary defense because it means that this technique could be used for much larger asteroids. Until today, we thought the only deflection technique would be to send a nuclear device.
Well, thank goodness they didn't do that. Yes.
Stay tuned on this one because I think this may result in unintended consequences.
Yes, indeed. It also is a little bit worrying that whenever NASA get incredibly excited about doing something, they tend to really put their foot down and focus on it. So, this isn't the last we've heard about deflecting meteors that are hurtling towards us or anything else that might be coming our way.
Yeah, true story. I actually, before the show, ran some errands because I was working on a project and doing some writing today. And I was like, oh boy, I want to go to the store because I really want to get a steak because I haven't had a steak in forever. Like totally not forever. So I got, deep in the mind of salty. So I got some steaks and Purple knows that I did. But on my way back, I stopped at the comic book shop and it's run by this cool dude about, our age, my age, whatever. And he's the coach of the Little League around here in middle of nowhere, South Central Texas. And I always go in and talk to him. He's got a pug. It's a cool shop, right? He has a hard time keeping any Dungeons and Dragons before episode 4 in stock. He got a complete set of virtually everything from second edition and first edition stuff. Somebody literally from California just found out because he posted it on the internet, gave him over asking and bought all of it before any of us could get to it. I was in the store today because I wanted to buy some high quality dense dice. You guys know what I'm talking about. Sharp edge, D10, D4, D12, D20, the D6, the whole thing. Because I've got a whole lot of okay, you know what I mean, like okay dice for playing D&D. But I wanted to see if I could get some decent ones. So I go in and I'm like, dude, are these, is this all the dice you got? You're like a gaming store. And he's like, people have been coming in and buying everything Dungeons and Dragons. Like 5th edition. They don't know any better. And all the dice. And I live in a small town. And he's like, it's been in the last couple of weeks. And I turn to him because I'm a YouTuber and I have to tell everybody what I think, right? And I said, do you think it's because people are getting sick of watching really bad fantasy movies and shows? And he looked up at me and he's like, I didn't think about it that way, but that could be it. And it's like, maybe he was being nice because he wanted to make a sale. But this guy's, he's a normie. He's a nerd. He's a huge comic book nerd. He's a guy who has virtually every issue of the Amazing Spider-Man ever made. Virtually everyone. And it's something every time I come in there and I ask him about the comic books that I like, he's like, I've got almost a full collection of, that's what we nerds do, right? Like, by the way, actually, that whole thing.
Check this out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the cool thing about going into a comic book shop where you just, where it's just chill, is you go in thinking, I'm just going to run in and get one thing. And then it takes 25 minutes and you talk about everything else, because people, we love our stuff. We do. We love, whether it's comic books or games or tabletop or action figures, or this guy has virtually every gaming system made, like shelves loaded with old Nintendo and iterations of Atari and NES and Sega and PS and Xbox and all these special editions that came out for those, and then all the cartridges and all this other stuff. It's just, you go in there and it's just like, I'm in like the Vatican of nerddom. You know what I mean? Like, you just go and soak it up. And so yeah, I go in there once a week, but I bought these really great dice, and it was crazy because he was right. I remember the last time I was in there, he had this display loaded with pretty decent Chessex dice, in their own little container. And I don't know if I brought them in here because that would be, I was smarter than I actually am. They're still out there. But I just was like, you know what? I want to support my local comic book shop, and I go in there and I'll buy comic books, just because I want to support the guy. And yeah, I bring all this up because, like Sirigrian says, people are rediscovering Dungeons and Dragons, and the Lord of the Lord of the Rings Online has seen a massive uptick in subscribers. It's getting really crowded on all the servers. It's delightful. People don't want what they've done. And I have never seen more ambivalence to a show, a major show, before. We've all seen the iterations of rage, and we've been there. Long before I started a channel, I was one of the people saying it about Disney Star Wars cinematically. Until I finally reached a place where it's not that I gave up, it's just that I'm not going to put my energy into hating on something which it's not. I'm hating something that's counterfeit. It's counterfeit Star Wars, it's counterfeit Marvel, it's counterfeit Star Trek, it's counterfeit Doctor Who, it's counterfeit Ghostbusters, and now we got counterfeit Tolkien. And I'm deeply concerned that we will have gotten counterfeit Game of the Dragon prequel, or House of the Dragon prequel. If nothing else, we got 4 pretty good episodes. But people are going to find things that fill their souls. They are. Purple Valkyrie, what do you think about that?
Yeah, people need distractions. People need something to make them happy. And if what is being churned out by mainstream media isn't doing it anymore, and it seems to be the case, not just with super fans, people and people on YouTube that talk about it, but this normie audience that they've been chasing that supposedly exists, people are just turning away because they're not interested.
I don't believe them. I don't believe that they're making it for any audience. I believe they're making it to sell an agenda and to wear us down. I think that's undeniable. And I think what did that for me was watching the House of the Dragon cast, while their show is incredibly successful, act as if their show was not. and bitch about people not liking the race or sexuality or look at my pronouns when the show is successful. And that to me meant that this show exists only for these morons to say these things in the press.
Mm-hmm. They were.
That's how it's starting to feel. These shows are just incidental. It's just like they don't even matter. Get sock puppets talking about Tolkien, but you don't like it because you're a racist. I mean, that's what this feels like. It's bullshit. I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm gonna take my toys and I'm going to play in a different place. You know? Like, I'm not going to be your mockingbird. I'm not going to be provoked by you to then you get gratified and you get to respond and call me a racist and misogynist. I don't give a shit about what you're making because it's not real. It has no artistic value. It is shit. And I don't have to take shit into my life. I have to live with that moron who shits his pants named Brandon. And I hope not for much longer. I really hope that maybe things turn around and maybe people actually count things that are actually put in a box instead of, 4:00 in the morning. Anyway, yeah, Cycle Dwarf 9 says Purple and Salty. I got a copy of Cyberpunk 2020. It's getting added to the Traveler 5 game. I used to have Traveler, the box set. You guys remember Traveler? That game had the most dense tables. I bought that game and I read those books, but I was like teenage me in the 80s, like, this doesn't look fun. It just looks like algebra. Like, I'm going to go play the fantasy trip into the labyrinth, or I'm going to go play basic D&D and talk about how, what barbarian chicks I get to sleep with because my charisma's high. I'm not going to calculate the velocity of a freighter from Mars to Venus if there's another passing asteroid. I mean, Traveler's a work of art. It truly is. In the same way that Kubrick's Space 2001 is a work of art. I just don't watch and play Space 2001 on a regular basis for fun. Did you play those games, Purple Valkyrie? Take this super chat, by the way, please.
I didn't actually. Like I said, I was very lacking when it came to playing these sort of games, which is why I'm so excited to kind of be delving into it now. But let me just grab that super chat. So big thank you again to Psychodwarf 9. Let's see, what was it that he said? He said, haven't watched House of the Dragon. I had no faith. I had a lot of, well, I don't say I had a lot of faith. I had a lot of hope. Hope springs eternal, as always. And I was one of those people that liked Game of Thrones for the first 4 or so seasons. I mean, it definitely went off the rails in the later seasons. But this was something fresh. It was something new. You didn't have to have watched the previous show to understand and like these characters.
I didn't. I read the books. I've talked about it before.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the reasons why, and this is not a House of the Dragon show, it's just incidental because it's unavoidable, because where we're talking about is making our own entertainment, and in a lot of ways, part of me has pulled back, and I don't want to say de-evolved, but I remembered what it was when I was a teenager in my 20s. That was fun. Instead of being programmed by YouTube or Amazon or Netflix, or you'll like this or blah blah blah, or look, here's my blah 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 pronoun this and eat the bugs and all this other. No.
Yes, this character looks exactly like you, so you've got to automatically like them. See, this is you on the screen. Yeah.
I've turned this corner where all of this shit is not about seeing yourself on the screen. It's about selling you, again, transhuman agenda. And for me, that's why it would be like someone giving me antifreeze and telling me it's Kool-Aid. I know the difference. I'm going to spit it out. And I'm going to say you're trying to poison me. And this entertainment is trying to poison not just us, but much in the same way. Like, what are they doing to 7-year-old? Remember the first article we covered on this show?
Yes,
the
indeed.
7 to 11-year-old children in Africa. What are they doing? They're feeding them the bugs.
Yes, just to see what happens.
Yeah, don't even talk about what Seattle Children's Hospital is doing. Look that one up. Or the University of Wisconsin Health if there is a higher power, and I believe there is, I'm not quite sure what he, she, they, whatever, or the pantheon look like. I hope that these people are judged for what they're doing. Daniel for $5 says, I'm sure Salty remembers how just a normal shuttle launch used to be a national TV event. Now shooting asteroids is barely mentioned. WTF. No, the shuttle, when I was a kid, we got out of class and they rolled this big, ridiculous TV out on a cart. And it was sometimes black and white. And the TV was so big and so heavy, they had like a belt strap on the top and they rolled it out and they had to adjust their rabbit ears. It's a true story, right? And so you watched the countdown of the shuttles, all of them. And I saw many of those shuttle tragedies live, and it was a big deal going to space. I think it's a big deal going to space. I think it's a big deal that China landed a rover on the moon and is now contemplating industrial mining of helium-3, which is used in plasma, or not plasma, but in fusion reactors. Well, we here in the United States and you guys in the UK, well, they're telling us now because there's not enough power because Ukraine, your cell phone towers are going to be turned off.
Yes, and they're now allowing fracking back in the UK.
I'm all right with fracking. I'm all right with a lot of things. What I'm not all right with is saying this is only going to be temporary, 14 days to slow the spread. Because as we've learned, those things become permanent. Let me get to this super chat from C. Regret. Oh, what's wrong with me, Purple? Severgrain. Say it for me, Purple.
Severgrain. I hope I pronounced that right, sweetheart.
I know, that's what I thought, but I think it's wrong. So for $10 said, when my story gets finished, if it gets published, and if it becomes a screenplay, I want YouTubers to do the soundtrack, CGI, cinematography, and crowdsourcing. A true fan creation. Hashtag respect the lore. Please reach out to me via email. There are some things that I'd like to share with you and get your opinion on. Thank you for being here. Thank you for forgiving the fact that we get things called stream brain, where even though I've said your name 5 times, I suddenly can't in the middle of a stream. It's a real thing, isn't it, Purple Valkyrie?
It is, yes. We're just human. We stumble over words all the time, but we love you guys. We really do. And the one thing that we've talked about it in the past, and I will bring it up now, how incredibly talented we have a group, just pulling from this pool, from the chat, from our friends, from the people that we work with. We have some incredibly talented people.
I am going to shift gears because I want to talk about something fun. And why? Because it's October. Now,
Yes.
I've noticed everybody and their brother is talking about Halloween, despite the fact that it's October 1st. So Halloween, much like Thanksgiving, much like Christmas, you can never play too many Christmas songs. I'm one of those guys. I really am. Like, I'll listen to Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, all the crooner Christmas songs. I'll just start listening to them now, and I'll keep listening to them in March. I'm okay with that. I really am. Now, anything after the early 80s, it's literally like you're drilling my skull. I don't want Mariah Carey. I don't want Boys to Men. I don't want any of this. I don't want, what's her name? The Pink. I don't want anybody like that. I don't want Lizzo like singing ho ho ho. I like, to me that's literally like that's a universal ending paradox of shit that I want nothing to do with.
I would say the Pogues are the one exception for that with Fairy Tale New York.
Oh, no. Okay, I agree with that. Yeah. I know.
Yes,
one of my favorite
I know exactly
lines.
What you mean.
Oh, yeah. Fairy Tale of New York. Oh, my God. You cheap, lousy.
Yeah. Another word you can't say on YouTube anymore.
Warms the cockles of your Christian, Judeo-Western civilization, nuclear family heart. All the things they hate. Let's take a look at this list, Purple Valkyrie. This comes to us and was reposted by you. Tell me about this, and wow, do I hate this app. But go ahead and tell me about this, Purple Valkyrie.
Yes, indeed. So you guys know how obsessive I am about Halloween and anything spooky related. I've been talking about it for quite a long time. It makes me happy, and anybody who's talked to me behind the scenes know I've been Halloween hunting for quite a long time, picking up bits and pieces because it gives me
It's
that little
true.
bit of serotonin. It gives me that little rush, and it makes me smile. But I came across this list that a lot of people are reposting, so I thought this looks like a lot of fun, and this is to do with horror films. So it is the 31 Days of Horror Challenge, starting today, obviously, because it is the first. So the first one, and I've done this today, it is a first time watch. So the idea is that you go through this list and you tick off as many of these as you possibly can and try to get the full 31 days if possible. Some of them, I think they're going to be a little bit harder than others, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I know
Yeah,
a lot of people, I think Stig's doing it as well. So I want to kind of compare and contrast our
I do
lists
too.
and see what people pick.
I do too. I didn't, because I don't live on social media. I saw this when I was setting up the show, and I'm like, what is this? And then I started asking Purple about it. I was like, oh, totally. Um, I watched Nightmare on Elm Street yesterday with Purple, and for the first time since the movie came out. And of, I was, I here's the all right, my main card is intact, but that movie scared the shit out of me. Like when I was in junior high,
Hmm.
I'm just gonna say that in '84, a lot of things, like it was a different world. You know what I mean? Like this was truly groundbreaking in a lot of ways, and rewatching it, it was more tame than I would say I could have imagined. Now, that doesn't take away from Robert England. It doesn't take away from this is the story that started it all. One of the things I loved about this movie was remembering the way people were and human beings were, and more importantly, the way that women looked. There was nobody with pink hair, nobody that looked like they'd had a serious nail gun accident. You know, it was like the girls the way I remember them, in
Yes,
high
yes.
school.
Fresh
So
faced, big hair. Absolutely loved it.
I love it. Still brings a rise to my world. Nosferatu the Vampire says Bing Crosby was the best father a kid could have. There is a joke in that. It's true. Allow me my scant and few illusions, my friend. Truly, allow me a few. The world is full of lies. Let me have an illusion. It's witchcraft. God, I love Frank Sinatra. Another guy who maybe was not the best role model, especially for matrimony, but a hell
Mm.
of an artist. Now we got people talking about the Dropkick Murphys. I don't know. I don't believe I've heard the Dropkick Murphys Christmas album. I don't. And we've got shots fired from Dempsey saying Boys to Men is good Christmas music. You, sir, no. I'm just going to no. I respect you, but in this, sir, no. Just no. No. No Backstreet Boys, no Boys to Men, no, I don't know, whatever that horrible dark time of the early 90s with boy bands and acid wash jeans and oversized white
Yes.
t-shirts, and all of them looked like future felons in New Jersey, you know what I mean? Like,
We had a boy band that did a Christmas song. It was N17, and they looked like they'd steal the hubcaps off your cars.
mm, wow, I'm not gonna make that joke. I'm not gonna make that joke. Yeah, you got to watch Elm Street with Purple. I'm so jealous. Well, we do what we can. Let's just say technology does not always yield the best video results. We can just say that one. So, yeah. All right. So I'm excited about this. I'll link this out to people in chat. It's an interesting challenge, and it's a way to have entertainment and also mix things up. I'm
Yes.
excited for more first time watches. Purple is a huge horror fan. I love Hitchcock. I love The Thing. I love any sci-fi fantasy related horror crossovers like Aliens, um, Event Horizon. But I'm not into the body horror.
Hmm.
I will not watch that. Can't do it. I think there's enough things wrong in the world without watching somebody get a chainsaw shoved up their backside. I feel like that every day, watching how much money is going to the Ukraine. Why would I watch it on screen? But yeah, you guys are absolutely fantastic. Setlick3 says, I have the entire graphic novel set from hell.
Nice.
Oh, look at this. And we've got Sagrian says, one artist to earn my respect is Lady Gaga, and that girl has a set of pipes that impressed Julie Andrews. I can't help but wonder if she's done a Christmas project. I believe she has. I believe she has. She has talent, but I think like so many artists, and this is an opinion, I don't want to hear what the computer does. I want them to just do what the crooners did. You want to impress me? Do what Dean Martin did. Walk into a studio, half in the bag, do a song in one take. Do a song in one take. And this is a true story. He did this with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It was one take. He did that song in one take. Shit-faced in Germany.
Wow.
Watch these old crooners. Like there's a 1965 Frank Sinatra special. It's black and white, set in Kansas City. It's available on YouTube. It is the first time Sammy Davis Jr. as a black man is able to perform on stage in Kansas City at a white club. It's because Frank Sinatra didn't put up with any racist bullshit. A lot of people may not know this, or they do, and then we'll get out of here. Sammy Davis Jr. was working in Las Vegas when he was involved in a terrible automobile accident. Now, back then, everything was stick shift. And those stick shifts were essentially big sticks that stuck out in between the driver's seat and the passenger seat. And you had to grab and crank on them. I remember my grandparents had one of those. Well, Sammy Davis Jr. was involved in a terrible car crash. Obviously, nobody knew what the hell a seatbelt was. Shit, we didn't wear them in the 80s. Wasn't until I was in high school where they started making it do that. It's a true story. True story.
Did you guys just kind of slide back and forth on the back seat?
Yeah.
Corner too
it was
fast.
bench seats. It was bench seats. It was like you're just sliding around. Everybody was fun. Builds character. All right, let's talk about Sammy. Sammy Davis Jr. got in a terrible car accident. His head did this and hit the gear shifting and lost an eye. No hospital in Las Vegas would take him because he was black, despite the fact he was performing at some of the largest casinos in Las Vegas. Frank Sinatra went to the hospital, as story says, with some friends of Italian descent, with more than their dicks in their hands, and made sure that Mr. Davis got the medical care that he deserved. So my point with all this and Lady Gaga is I think she has a tremendous amount of talent. I think it's undeniable. I actually thought she did a pretty good job in that movie that she did with when they redid A Star Is Born.
Yes.
Pretty good. It was entertaining. I saw it in the theater. Never saw it again. Don't need to. But these artists need to do things live. And because I'm a huge jazz fan and I don't talk about it, I torment people like Purple with my jazz love on a regular basis. But let's see these people do standards without computer enhancement, just singing it and see if they have the heart and soul. So, yeah, agreed. Look at this. Sagrian says, Brat Pack forever, baby. I absolutely agree. Look at this. How about the sphere in the cell? Wait a minute. Isn't one of those have, what the hell's her name? The one who got married to Affleck again, Jennifer somebody. Lopez,
yes. I can't remember which one's which. I think I've seen The Cell, if I remember correctly. I don't think I've seen The Sphere.
The Sphere? Wait, was The Sphere underwater? Wasn't that with Dustin Hoffman and what the hell's her name?
Yes.
The chick from, Fatal Attraction, not Fatal Attraction. The one who showed her junk, who showed her hoo-ha in the dress, that's scene, that doesn't even matter. I didn't like it. I remember that. In The Cell, I didn't see because that's Jennifer Lopez, because I'm apparently a racist. It's just that, I don't think she's very talented at anything, but apparently she's talented enough at something to get Ben Affleck to come to go. I'm going to stop talking. Look at this one. Louise X. Sparrow, did you watch Werewolves Within? Is that to Purple or myself? And Purple, can you tell me what that is?
I haven't watched it. I've heard of it, but I've heard good things about it. But if you guys recommend it, I'll definitely add it to the list. The one thing that I do love about this list that we've talked about is it is so open-ended. A lot of these,
Yeah.
you can just kind of pick and choose, so you're really not confined to it. I mean, there's a couple of them like Michael Myers. Obviously, you're stuck with a Halloween film, but anything else? Look at these. We've got classic vampires, favorite
Oh,
directors, Italian horror. What else have
Italian
we
horror.
got?
I had a
Horror
girlfriend like that in
comedy.
the 90s, Italian horror. Oh, never mind the movies. Sorry, go ahead, Purple. Didn't mean to
Close
interrupt.
enough. Close enough. But I'm really excited for this, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope some of you guys join us as well. I'd love to compare lists and see what you all come up with.
Look at that, Daniel. I didn't even use Google. I just used my expansive brain, which seizes up randomly during live shows. Sharon Stone. That's the chick. Remember, she flashed her hoo-ha. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, it's Sharon Stone's hoo-ha," and it's like, eh,
Eh,
eh.
great.
I want to make a joke about a crowded parking garage with Sharon Stone's hoo-ha, but I'm not going to do that. Yeah. Oh, and of course, because I'm a racist, I forgot Samuel L. Jackson in the Sphere. How do I feel about The Abyss? I've told this story before. I was working in a movie theater when that came out. It was the same summer that Batman '89 came out. There was a really cool independent film starring James Spader and a young Laura San Gusiamo. Talk about it. Firecracker. It's called Sex, Lies, and Videotape, which was actually a really progressive in a good way, not progressive in a let's chop this off and sew this on and I'll call you Sally kind of a way. This is a cool movie with James Spader called Sex, Lies, and Videotape. But The Abyss came out that same year. '89 was a pretty good year for movies. I must have seen parts of The Abyss about 200 times because we played it multiple times during the shifts when I was in college working in the movie theater. I hated that movie for a long time until I sat down and rewatched it, and now I think it's a great movie. I was disappointed by the end. And then I saw they restored some footage where apparently the aliens destroyed the Earth with these tidal waves. Now I thought that was infinitely cooler. But to me, The Abyss is another one of those movies which is holy cow, it's pretty cool until the ending. Now, you guys may hate me, but I think Lost in Space, anybody remember that from the 90s? That
Yes.
could have been a movie that pulled it out with a great ending. Instead, I walked out of that theater going, what the hell did I just do? Why did you do this to this movie? Because you kind of had me. You did, up until that super shitty ending. I don't know if I've offended everybody or not with my takes on this, but yeah. There is this is life. Christopher Lee in anything. Christopher Lee in James Bond. Christopher Lee in Lord of the Rings. Christopher Lee in Hammer Horror. Christopher Lee everywhere. Christopher Lee in a movie that I digitally restored where he plays an American accent, which is going to be debuting, which I didn't know about, Purple didn't know about, is
Nope.
part of the October surprise that we are going to be releasing. It's in a digital restoration of this. You guys will be able to watch it. It'll be on my channel. I'm not going to get nuked. It's public domain. But here's the thing: is it's actually a good movie. It's actually a really good movie. And it's Christopher Lee doing an American accent, and I've never ever heard of this before. It's absolutely insane. All right, we're going to post this thing out. I could just sit here and talk forever about all this crazy stuff, but you guys, I don't know.
You
Yeah,
guys
the
help us
under
keep sane, so thank
it's
you.
true. It's true. And Set Like 3 Gaming says the what the actors had to go through was incredible and James Cameron almost drowned. It's true. And so was it Ed Harris? Is it Ed Harris?
Ed
I think
Harris,
it's Ed
yep,
Harris. I
yep.
think he almost drowned, and Elizabeth Mastriantario. Um, didn't get to see her hoo-has, but you got to see her headlights. She was fantastic in that role. The character development in that role is fantastic, and of course, the same guy who played Kyle Reese and who played the guy who sent back in Terminator 1 to help. No, that is Kyle Reese. And then Corporal Hicks. is it Hicks? I think it's Hicks
Yes,
from
yes,
Aliens,
yes,
is
Dwayne
the
Hicks.
same guy who loses his shit in Aliens. It's fantastic. What a career of 80s rock star roles. So, yeah, and Christopher Lee was in The Four Musketeers.
Yes.
Purple
He also
Valkyrie.
released a heavy
Go ahead.
metal album.
Christopher Lee?
Yeah.
All right, now we have to do a show on that, Purple. Now we have to do a show on that. Wow. You guys, I can't wait for Wednesday. We have so much more woo woo. This was really great. I like to take these weekends to cover more, I would say, things that are weird and disturbing going on around us. And I try and break it up with some fun stuff, but these things, I don't know. Maybe I know they're not just getting to me. I know they're getting to Purple. I know they're getting to other creators out there. And if they're getting to you, the big message I have again is you're not alone. You're not crazy. These times are meant to do one thing, and that is to demoralize us. And I'm not going to let it do it. I don't have time anymore. I'm going to get busy doing things that I care about. And doesn't make me a hero, doesn't make me a good person. It just means that this is the way I'm going to stay sane until either the mushroom clouds or something changes. So,
Yes.
Purple Valkyrie, where can people find you? What do you got going on?
Well, first of all, let me say a huge thank you to Salty for doing this. I love talking woo, as you know. So getting to do this on Saturdays is an absolute treat, and just getting to, as you say, talk about these topics, which are incredibly important, but they don't like us talking about it. So if we can talk about it in a little, snide kind of way and be a little bit funny about it, it just helps release a little bit of steam. So thank you, and thank you to the chat. You guys are awesome, as always.
Thank you to all of my channel members who've been here. Thank you a lot for the super chats. Thank you so much for the comments. As ever, and we say it all the time, you guys help make these shows. We love responding to what you say. You have such great insights and such fantastic comments. And when we say things like, we'd love to hear your paranormal experiences or your UFO experiences, please reach out to us. We
Yes.
really do want to hear about them. And if you want to share it, we will help you share it or do whatever we can, because we'd love to hear about those things. I want to say thank you to, let's see, this is to me. A YouTuber made a hilarious parody of Gladriel's fight scene in a Mexican church. See, Regret, here's the problem is I'm sure that mocking scene is probably much more in the spirit of Tolkien than what Amazon has done. $1 billion. $1 billion. $1 billion would have funded what's going on in Ukraine for like 10 seconds. So, let's put that in perspective, compared with what Brandon did. I don't like 2022.
Yeah. How's that pipeline going? It seems to be fine.
We talked about that Wednesday. Yeah,
Yeah,
stay
we
tuned,
did.
folks. I don't think the WTF is over yet. I think this is all they got. This is all they got. Anyway, I want to thank everybody who's been here today. You all, we've been going over an hour and a half. I am Salty Texas C. Look forward to a new series, and I'll announce it here. It's called Dark Passages. And numerous very talented people have dedicated their time and effort into developing really fun things. We're going to talk about it more. I'm going to release some promo videos for it, and there will be a playlist appearing on this channel. Again, thank you to Purple Valkyrie. Thank you to a whole bunch of people. Thank you to everybody who's been here today. I needed to do this, and I look forward to cooking the very beautiful New York strips that are out there in my kitchen right now, baking a potato, and probably having about, that much bourbon tonight while I watch fantasy or science fiction. I hope you are able to do what makes you happy tonight. Purple Valkyrie, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you as always. And yes, guys, do what makes you happy. Create.
Yep.
Go outside. Enjoy the fresh air. You guys are amazing.
Yep. Have a good rest of the weekend. We'll see you soon.
Take care.